Okay, today's daf is Kuf Hey. We're up to starting from the Mishnah on Kuf Daled Amud Beis. So we saw yesterday. We saw that depending upon the lashon that a person uses, if he says the lashon Amada b'chevel, you can measure with a chevel. It's exact. If it says in Chosva Henyesa, we even said even if it says Stam base Kur Afa, the din would be we get up to a quarter of 30 quarters or 7.5 kav to play with. Okay, so what the following? He says conflicting lashonis, guys. In this daf, we're going to have conflicting lashonis. So he says, "Mida b'chevel ani meichelacha." I'm selling you what a piece of land, mida b'chevel, and then he adds, "Hein chasa hein yeser."
Both.
So those are conflicting views because the first one is exact, and the second one is you have a quarter per 30. Says the Gemara, "Batal hein chasa hein yeser mida b'chevel." The second lashon is mevatel the first lashon. In other words, with Toifis Lashon Achron, we go after the second Lashon. Let's go to the Rashbam on the bottom line. The Sriel Elaitana, the Chol Shnei Lashonos Shal Mechira, Sheshoshim Zeh Zeh, any two Lashonos of Mechira, of sale, that contradict each other, Toifis Lashon Achron. Why? The Chayzer by B'Toich Diba Min Arishain, because he's having what? Regret, Toich Diba from the first one. So it's with Toich Dibur. There's a Chakira. It's Toich Dibur. Pshat is a person has the zman of Toich Dibur to go ahead and change his mind, like it's a zman to change your mind. Well, no, there's no chalois until Toich Dibur. Whatever you said doesn't count Toich Dibur. The nafkaminas. But that's, if I remember the yeshiva days, that's the Chakira. But so the bottom line is, this Tana goes after the Taifus Lashon Achrayin. So Mamela, if you said rope first and then a little bit less and more, you go after a little bit less and more. Conversely, what you say the following: Hein chasa hein yeser. He says he's selling you right a chevel. He's selling you a piece of land, and he says hein chasa hein yeser, and then he says mida b'chevel. So batal mida b'chevel hein chasa hein yeser divrei Ben Nanis. These are what the words of Ben Nanis, and the Rabbanan are going to argue with Ben Nanis in the Gemara. So Ben Nanis clearly says your Toifus Lashon Achron. Now,
but certainly only talk to the Dibur after that.
Yeah. Again, then it'll be two separate Dibur. Then it'll be a separate thing, right? It has to be talk to the Dibur. Amr of Abba bar Mamul Amar Rav. Says Rav Abba bar Mamul in the name of Rav. Cholkin alav chaveroiv al Ben Nanis. His friends, meaning others, argue on Ben Nanis. Cholkin alav chaveroiv al Ben Nanis. Now the mashmois is that Rav is not saying who he agrees with. He's just mentioning another shita. Ben Nanis says Yetoifis Lashon Achrain. Be aware, Cholkin alav chaveroiv. Look at Ashbam, guys. Who have a moment on Besafik, because these chaverim who argue, they say they're in doubt of what to go ahead and go after. Ucholkin the misafkalahu iamin and toughest lashon rishain I lashon achroin kidim farish the kanevim masnisan. The Merchat says, we're going to see later on the Mishnah of Merchat. In other words, we don't know what to do. Moment on Besafik, what do? Cholkin. So they argue. Now, what about Rav? Umiu Rav svira like Ben Nanis. So again, he gives you the Rashbam is giving you the end of the sugya. In other words, when Rav said Cholkin alav chavervel Ben Nanis, but be aware, I agree with Ben Nanis. I agree. Umiu Rav svira like Ben Nanis. Kidul come on b'shmaitin. We'll see in the end of the sugya. Ami Bei Rav, we'll see the case of Histaria Meyama. We'll see what that is. Okay, so. So they disagree, and the svara is, since we don't know which one to go after, right? Says the Gemara, my kamash malon, what's Rav telling me? I know it, that there are people who argue about manis. Tanina, we learned it, and this we learned in Masech the Bab Mitzia. Maisa bit Sipuri, in the town of Sipuri, be'echad shesacha merchatz mechaveroi. He went ahead and he rented a bathhouse from his friend. And he rented it for a year, and it turned out to be a leap year. Guys, outside. He rented it for a year, and it turned out to be a leap year. So if you go after the year, the Seicher, he gains. If it goes after the year, he gained an extra month. But if you go after the month, you paid by the month, then the masker gains another month. So that's the question. In a leap year, who is getting it? And it's going to depend on what lashon you use. Is the rental agreement mashma you're paying by monthly, or is the rental agreement mashma you're paying what yearly? So says the Gemara, Ma'aseh b'tzur be'echad shesachem echad smechaveroi b'shnei masas ahuvim l'shana, 12 for a year. That would be a mila for the seicher, right? You go after the year. Then it says dinar zav l'chaydesh, a dinar zav l'chaydesh. So here you have conflicting lashonis in mechira, as we saw in the Rashbam in the bottom. You have conflicting lashonis in mechira. What that on one hand you're saying yearly, and then the extra month would go to the renter, the seicher. On the other hand, you're saying a dinar zav l'chaydesh. A silver dinar for a chaydesh is mashma, so the maskir would get the 13th month. Good? So you have conflicting lashonis, guys. Good? Like we had in the Mishnah, conflicting lashonis of chevel, chen chas, chen yeser. Here you have conflicting lashonis of a dinar versus a month. Uba ma'aseh lefnei Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. The ma'aseh came in front of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Ulefnei Rabbi Yosi, and in front of Rabbi Yosi. For Amru, and they said, Yechloku es chaydesh ibor. You go ahead, what? And you go ahead and you divide that extra month. So what do you see? That you don't go after lashon achroin. You go ahead and divide. So what is Rav telling me that his friends argue on bananas? Rav is an Amoira, and here we have a brisa or a Mishnah. I don't remember. I forgot what it was. But again, whichever it is, it's what it's yes.
I don't see why the lashon shnei maser and shnei maser is the rubin l'shana.
Stop l'shana kama. So it's 12 for the year, meaning even if it's a leap year, you're still only paying 12. Even if it's a leap year, you're only paying 12. Now, dina zav l'chaydesh. Got it?
Then you're talking particularly it's only in a year which is a leap year.
That'd only be the nafkamina. That would only be if you pay $12,000 for a month for a year or $1,000 a month. Dove, there's no nafkamina. The only nafkamina is
there is unless it's shal ribbis. You're paying me up front for the year.
No. Again, no, it's going. We just no. It's paid at the end. Gemara is hard enough without getting into that. No. Just catching the word shana and chaydesh and there you have your problem. Shana and chaydesh, and there you have your problem in a leap year. So why did you see? So Rav said, Cholken love Chaver and Benanas. What is Rav telling me? I see clearly they're arguing. What? Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, and Rabbi Yosi, they both say that what? Yechlaiku es chaydesh ibi. You can go ahead and divide it up. Says the Gemara, Ime Hasam. If you're going to use that source in the Gemara in Bab Metzia, Havamina Hasam who the Ikalamema Mahadeka Hadebe the Ikalamema Prusha Kamafarish. Now, there's two possibilities, guys. When he said 12 zuhuvim l'shana, and then he said 12 per month, it could be that what he either changed his mind, or it could be he's explaining when he said 12 for the year. What did he really mean? So therefore, you don't have a raya. It's there. I'm assuming what he meant, right? But so I would not know that it's moment al mutal b'safik. I would not know it's moment al mutal b'safik. If in that case, I would say maybe he's just explaining the previous words. Says the Gemara, over here by us in our Mishnah, by us in the Mishnah, the Vadai Kohadabei, guys, if you say Chevel rope and then you say a little more, a little less, that's not explaining. That is in other words, that is guaranteed contradiction. So I would say that what Ema Loi. I would say you don't say yechloku, but I would say tofes lashon achroin, and you go after whatever the last lashon is. Kimash malon Rav that even in our Mishnah, it's not because tofes lashon achroin, but it will be yechloku. They would say yechloku in our Mishnah. So outside guys, let's keep the cheshbon going. Let's keep the cheshbon going because it's a lot of cheshbon tonight. Okay, so the first case we have the case of the rope and a little more, a little less. The contradictory, right? Rope, you're going to get exact amount, a little more, a little less. 7.5 kavim. Okay, now, which said bananas in that case, whatever the last lashon is, that's what you're going to go after. Says Rav, Chachamim would argue on that. They would say, in that case, since we don't know, we don't yachlaiku. You go ahead and divide. You say the divide. Right. Fred the Gemara. Why does Rav telling me? I have a case of a bathhouse in Sipuri where the Chachamim said you divide. He said the Gemara over there, bathhouse in Sipuri is more of a suffix, right? There's more of a suffix. Why? Because it could be that he wanted to explain what he meant by year monthly, or it could be no, he's changing his mind. But in our Mishnah, where clearly they're distincting the rope and less, I would say maybe he's agrees with bananas. Rav is mechadish. In our Mishnah, that no. They hold the same thing as they do by the bathhouse, that yechloko. You don't know what he is. Very geschmack. Now, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Zu divrei bananas. Now, Shmuel is explaining our Mishnah like Rav, but he adds a little knech. He doesn't say cholken alav chavero el benanis. He says zu divrei benanis. These are the words of benanis. Aval chachamim oimrim holach achar pacha shel b'lishonos. Rashbam holach achar pacha shel b'lishonos. Go down before it gets very very wide. About 10 lines up. Holach achar pacha shel b'lishonos. Achar oisa aloshin shemaftis koicha shel lokeach. Whichever lashon is going to go ahead and detract and take away from the lekeach, that's what you go after. The mesafkalei itafis lashon rishon ay achroin, where since we're mesupik, the ad moicha shehu muchsik bekarka shaloi al yaina. Going back to our rule of thumb in Dinei Mamonis, whoever is muchsik has the upper hand. Whoever is muchsik has the upper hand. Right? This person, the moicher, he's holding on to the land. The question is, how much land is he holding on to? You're not sure whether you go after chevel, it's that amount, or pachas v'yoser, right? You don't know. So therefore, in that case, you'll always go after what? You'll always go after pachas v'shonos. You'll always go whatever works out better for what? For the moicher. But you're not going ahead and toifus lashon mat. You're not toifus lashon achman. You're not toifus lashon achman. So 2 things. One, he says that Shmuel says zu when he says this is the words of bananas is mashma, he doesn't hold like that. By Rav said a comment. There are those who argue on bananas. Shmuel didn't say that. He said those are the words of bananas. When he said those are the words of bananas, what's he saying? But I don't agree. In other words, it's a little nuance, but it's not a commentary. So the Gemara says zu v'lei svirale, right? He means zu v'lei svirale, zu v'lei svirale, but doesn't hold like that. Okay, now for Rav Ushmuel Dami Travayu. Now here's a third contradictory statement. Good. By now you all know there are 30 sa in a core, correct? Mm-hmm. There are 30 sa in a core. I could sell it to you one of 2 ways. I could sell you a core at one time, and it's only the chalais is going to be at the end of the core, or I can sell it to you 30 sa at a time. If I sell it 30 sa at a time, then each one is going to be what? Owned by itself. So they're contradictory statements. Good? So now, says the Gemara, V'ravu Shmuel emitravayu, kur b'shloishim ani moichlecha, yachal achseboy, afilu b'sa achroina. If he says a core for 30, I'm selling you. Now, there's no contradictory statement over there. It's clearly the kinyan is only after the core is measured out. So therefore, each one could change their mind before the last saw. However, core b'shloishim saw b'sela ani moichlecha. Now here's contradictory, guys. Core b'shloishim, right? B'shloishim saw b'sela ani moichlecha, or shloishim. Then rishon kana. Now you got a problem. Why do you say rishon kana? Obviously must be because your toifus lashon achroin, which was what? Saw b'sela. Again, guys, look at the second lashon. Kur b'shloishim. I'm selling you a core for shloishim. Now, saw b'sela, eat saw for a sela. So the first lashon is mashma you go after the whole core. The second lashon is mashma, you go after the sela. Why does Shmuel say Rishon kana? Why? Because you're going to go after each saw. Right. So why do you see that your typhus lashon achroin? So how can you say Shmuel does not hold like Ben Nanis zuvale sphirale? Clearly, he does hold you go after lashon achroin. So you should give Ben Nanis whatever lashon you used in our Mishnah, whether it was a rope or whether it was a little more, a little less, whatever the last one is, you should go. Ella zu v'sphirale. It must be zu v'sphirale, and he holds like him. And he holds like your typhus lashon achroin. So right now, guys, we have Rav commenting on Ben Nanis. We have Shmuel commenting on Ben Nanis. We don't know what Rav holds vis-a-vis Ben Nanis. We got the Rashbam telling us we do know that he agrees with Ben Nanis. We also have Shmuel agreeing with Ben Nanis, right? That what you go after typhus lashon achroin, and we have Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and the Merchatz and Sipuri saying no. You misupik what lashon you go after, whether you go typhus lashon rishon, lashon achroin. Which one do you go after? You don't know, and therefore yechlaiku. Now, umi sphirale, does really Shmuel hold like Ben Nanis that what your typhus lashon achroin? V'ama Shmuel beba. You know what I was speaking about? Going back on the case of the Merchatz, we're speaking where he comes in the middle of the month. So you have the 13th month, the 13th month, right? And he shows up in the middle of the month, the masker, and says, "Where's my money?" Does he have to pay him for the whole month or not? That's where Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel say yachloku. If you come in the beginning of the month, then you have to pay the maskir. Then the seicher would keep the money. Don't turn the page yet. Says Rashbam. 4 lines down where it gets wide. Shmuel. Aloda he Mishnah de Merchatz. Shmuel on the din of Merchatz. Again, that's the Ma'aseh with Sipuri where Shum Gamliel and Rabbi Yossi said yachloku. Diktani yachloku as a chaydesh ibur. When you're going ahead and dividing up that last month, it's speaking where you came to Bezdin, in the middle of the month. And you told the renter, say me basically leave. Okay, pay me for the month. Since we don't know which lashon to be typhus. So you see, Shmuel doesn't hold go after lashon achrin. So since we don't know, what do? Hemin mamen al cheskasai umashe dabar kvar loy mafkina minei. Right? Whatever he held on to, whatever he lived there, he keeps. He's muchzik in that money. Dil malashin changed the gears to rishon islay limitfis. Umashlei avar min achaydesh, and the remaining 15 days of the month, or yatsa yitain schar, either leave or give it the schar. Because we're going to go ahead and put it. Okay, guys, outside. Again, it's a lot of cheshbon. Our Mishnah, Ben Nanis says, our Mishnah is no shaila. Tontis lashon achrein that Ben Nanis, the rope, and the more or less, that's a given. Rav said, pashit. Why is it pashit? Right, that people argue on Ben Nanis because he bought the Mishnah, the price I forget in Bava Metzia about the bathhouse. Good, about the bathhouse. Good. Now we go ahead. Shmuel says, "These are the words of Ben Nanis. Mashma, these are his words. I don't agree with him." Fred the Gemara, how can you say you don't agree with him? After all, you have the case of Shlosh and Basra. For the saw, each one you kaina each one, right? You kaina each one. So it must be a typhus lashon achrin. The last achrin was sell out. You're good. Read the Gemara 1 second. How could you say Shmuel says you always go after the last lashon? In the case of the Merchatz, he explained the words of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and Rabbi Yossi. You know what? It's not because you typhus lashon achroin. He explained the following: when do you say yechloiku? Is because you're mesupik. You don't know if you go after the beginning or the end. So, if you come in the beginning of the month, who's muchzik in it in the beginning of the month? The masker. The seicher would have to get out. If he comes at the end of the month and he wants his rent, too bad. The seicher's got the money. When the yachloiku, you come in the middle of the month. Come in the middle, so each one is going to keep what they're holding on to. The Seicha that lived there for 15 days will keep that. And now the Maskil will get the last 15 days. Either give me money or leave. So when Shmuel explained Reb Yossi and Reb Shimon Gamliel like that, you see that you don't hold your Teufus Lashon. So therefore, back to Zu. So obviously, he argues on Ben Nanis. Then now, so we're going to have to go ahead therefore and explain, if he argues on Ben Nanis, how does he explain the Saw with the Shloishim, which was caused us the Charat in the first place? You paper trail. Good? Says the Gemara. So, everyone smile. We're going to do this Rashbam, guys, okay? We once turned the page of the Gemara, and my Rabbi said, "Give a cook the boich from the Tosfos." They got La'olam zu v'loy svirle. La'olam, guys, zu benanis a Mishnah, and he doesn't hold like that. Shmuel does not hold like that because of the way he explained the Mishnah in Merchatz. Good. Why do we got to explain the shleishim with the saw, right? V'loy svirle. The Hasam Taimamai Mishum de Tafis. You know, what's the reason by the Merchatz, guys? Each person gets echwaku because each person is being toughest what their typhus, right? And Hacha, therefore, by the case of the Shloshim Sa Nami ha toughest. Guys, what happened? What happened over here? You have a case. You go ahead. You said two Lashinas. You said base core and you said Sa Besela, right? And you started giving that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, your assumption was that he holds the last lashon, therefore he keeps what he keeps. You know what he keeps? What he keeps? Because I'm a supik. I don't know. But once he gets it, he's muchzik in it. Once he's muchzik in it, it's his. So Shmuel is consistent. Shmuel is consistent. Let's go through it. Our Mishnah, guys, is speaking about Benans. Our Mishnah, whatever type of lashon achron. Says Shmuel, I don't hold like that. Right? Zu and Leisvirle. You know what I hold? I hold, since I don't know what it is, whether you're Teufus Lashon Mishnah Achrein, whatever you're holding on to, whatever you're muchzikin, Hamoitzi Mechaveru Lav Lehevi Araya. Memela, by the bathhouse, you know why Yechloku? Because it came in the middle of the month. Therefore, the renter was holding on to the first 15 days, and the rentee gets the last 15 days. You have the Shach of Itaria about first the core, and then Sabasela, each one is Kaina. Mashma, you go after the Lashon Achron. No. You know, you Kaina each one? Because I'm a supik, I'm still a supik. But once I'm holding on to it, it's mine. Once I'm holding on to it, it's mine. Now, what's Rav Shita? Rav Huna, Bey Rav. They said following the yeshiva of Rav. Istira Meyamah. Now, an Istira, guys, is 96 prutos. Meyamah is 100 prutos. The ma here is a kappa ma. It's not a silver ma. It's a kappa ma. Silver ma is be 32 prutos. This is a kappa ma. Okay, so you have a difference of 4 prutos, guys. So you have contradictory statements over here. If you're selling something, it's steer for 96 prutos or 100 prutos. Good. So what's the din? Meyamah. Meyamah is stira. If you first use the lashon of meyamah, then it's stira. Istara, you're going to get the 96. My kamashmal, that's Rav teaching me that Teufus Lashon Achrein, that you Teufus the Lashon Achrein. Ha'amarav chadazimna, he already said it. Damarav, ihavi hasam, if I was there by the Merchetz, aviyavina kula lemaskir. I'd give the whole thing to the maskir. Why? Because the last Lashon we used was what? 12 per month, right? 12 per month. In other words, guys, take a look back in the Gemara. 4 lines from the top. Guys, what was the list lashon? Shana or chaydish? Chaydish, who gets it? The renter or the rentee? The rentee, the balabas. The balabas says Ra, and the Meister concept from the Shimon Gamliel, they say Yechlaku. What does Rab say? If I was there, I'd give the whole thing to the master. You know why? Because your type is lashon achrein, right? Your type is lashon achrein. So Fred the Gemara. So what's the chiddush? You have yiv the kula masker. Says the Gemara. Ma'adu tema perushi kamafarish. I might think that again. Remember, it's very easy to say that. Remember, it's not so contradictory over there, right? I would say when he said, "I'm giving it to you, I'm renting it to you for a year," and then he explained, you know what the year means? Monthly, paid monthly. Kamashmal on that? No, that monthly means monthly, and it doesn't mean a year. So therefore, you had to tell me this din of what by this stira. So comes out, we have 4 guys. Comes out we have four scenarios of contradictory Lashonis. The first one is our Mishnah, right? The Mishnah is rope. If you're measuring I'm giving you a base off a core by rope, or by a little bit more, a little less, contradictory, whatever the last lashon you use, toich kedei dibur, that's the one you're going to go after. That's the shita of Benanis. And we have other people who will be cholkin. We have the Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, and Shmuel. They would all disagree. The next case was the case of 12 dinarim by the bathhouse, right? Din l'chaydesh. So we have Shimon Gamliel and Rabbi Yossi. They say yechloku because misupik whether which lashon you go after, right? Rav says it's mamin amotel b'safik. Shmuel says what? It's dafka ba be'emsa chaydesh. According to Rav, it doesn't have to be ba be'emsa chaydesh. It's tamazay. It's misupik, right? And according to Shmuel, it's speaking ba be'emsa chaydesh because you're toughest. You're going to go after muhsik. In other words, Rav holds it's mamin amotel b'safik. He doesn't go into the svar of muhsik. Shmuel's the one who introduced us on what's michavel raya. So the din is the same, but for different reasons. According to Rav, it's money that's motel b'safik yechloku. According to Shmuel, it depends who's holding on to it. Okay, the next lashon was the case of 30, right? The 30, you go after the quarter, 30 after the saw. Rav says what? Rav says you go after the last lashon. Lokeach would keep it, right? Lokeach would keep it. The 30 you would keep, and Shmuel says whatever he has he would keep, right? Whatever he has he would keep, but not more than that. And finally, the last case, Rav the Estira, the case of the Estira. You get 96. The Estira is 96, or May among 100. Says Rav, whatever lashon you use last, that's the lashon, and therefore you get. And Shmuel says it depends. If the Lopeach paid if he paid the 100, no backsies. If he didn't pay it, then you can't take it away from him. Why? Because whatever you muhsik, you are muhsik.